CHAR. I am a loving, passionate, and creative human being, indigenous to the exotic island of Jamaica, West Indies. My name, Charmaine, was handpicked by the divine, for I am the quintessence of its core meaning, singer, song, delight. The ultimate purpose of my platform is to transform lives by empowering people to embrace the greatness within and impact the world for the better. Patricia E. Tyson is a registered nurse with a strong background in hospice and palliative care and is currently an organ tissue donation liaison. She is an ordained minister, but her life's passion, however, is music. A composer, choral director, vocalist, and concert pianist, Patricia has composed over 500 hymns, choral works, and songs in various languages. Every song that Patricia writes is intended to inspire and to encourage the singers and listeners to effect a change for positivity and to consider a more excellent way of living and doing. Megan Hubrex is a blog writer for meganhubrex.com, an author of 2 books, The Art of Talking and The One Who Stayed, a small business owner of Booked Up Bookmarks. She is a passionate advocate for mental health education and hopes of teaching people how mental health can affect any age. Amber Farrington is a multi-gifted creative soul, adapting to life on Earth and discovering how best to be of service to the world at this time. Deeply affected by the disharmony of her family and community, Amber feels called to bring attention to and help heal the physical, mental, and emotional manifestations of trauma passed down through generations of resilient but often misguided people. Her experience of CPTSD and related research informs most of her writing on these subjects. She looks forward to helping people form genuine soul connections through self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-love. Kate Farrell is a licensed psychotherapist and certified business coach. As a psychotherapist, she holds space and works alongside adults looking to process past hurts to create the life they want. For those looking to do more directive work with a specific goal in mind, she provides coaching and consultation services. Outside of the therapy and coaching space, she enjoys improvisational and stand-up comedy. Neil Foreman is a native of Jamaica, West Indies. He has a background in marketing and is the owner of CAD Corp. Neil is also a minister supporting the inner city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, teaching foundational principles of life and providing resources to the community. Eric Lees is a clinical social worker. He completed a master's in social work at Loyola University with a concentration in clinical mental health and substance abuse counseling. Eric has worked frequently with people experiencing psychosis, substance abuse, spiritual issues, anxiety, depression, and trauma. Being client-centered is at the core of his practice, and he strives to tailor therapy to a client's goals. In his free time, he enjoys writing and recording music with local musicians. Veronica Mcallister is a pre-licensed psychotherapist, social entrepreneur, and creative. She is an advocate for female empowerment and mental health, striving to help people heal and grow through increased self-awareness and self-acceptance. Veronica operates Women's Sports Chicago, which is an organization dedicated to keeping women of all ages active in sports. Veronica is also a singer-songwriter, and she believes the creative arts play a significant role in keeping people happy and healthy.
Chesley's victory made pageant history. For the first time, 3 black women held the titles of Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, and Miss America in the same year. In a haunting last Instagram posted the morning of her death, she wrote, "May this day bring you rest and peace," with a heart emoji. Gail King choked up with emotion this morning.
Nobody saw this coming, and this is what's so upsetting to me. How do you know to offer someone help if you don't know they need the help? That's why this is hitting me so hard.
No motive for the suicide was known, but in a 2018 interview, she spoke about mental health.
I do a lot to make sure that I maintain my mental health. And the most important thing that I did is talk to a counselor.
Her heartbroken family released this statement. Her great light was one that inspired others around the world with her beauty and strength. Chesley embodied love and served others. A promising young life gone too soon.
Last year, Chesley reflected on her journey to turning 30, questioning herself about her own success. Why, she asked. Why earn more achievements? Just to collect another win? She said the challenge of the status quo even caught the attention of trolls who flooded her social media pages with vomit emojis and insults telling her she wasn't pretty enough to be Miss USA or that her muscular build was actually a, quote, man body.
During the pandemic, all of us are experiencing so much and different types of struggle. I think it's important to realize that even while suicide rates have actually gone down a little bit for the last couple of years, including for 2020, that is not the finding for Black and Latinx communities around the U.S.
Heavy stuff. Well, welcome everybody to this conversation. Thank you all for being here. Hello, Neil, you made it. Can't hear you. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we already know that this is a very important topic that needs to be discussed on so many levels. I myself, I've struggled with depression, mental illness on various degrees due to reasons that I wasn't aware of until my adult years. Actually, not too long ago, I finally got some answers that made it better for me to understand why I've struggled with this for so long. I have to say that I'm doing a whole lot better because it's like I can see clearly now. It makes such a big difference. So I call depression, mental illness, the silent killer, because look at Miss USA, really? I mean, like, you never think that you have it all, your beauty. I mean, the platform that was just given to you. How could you be struggling with, what are you actually struggling with? And I asked all of you to come because you've all been doing your own research. You work in the field. And actually, I want to say a big congratulations to my daughter, Veronica, who just finished her master's program to become a psychotherapist. Yeah, but it wasn't an easy journey, and for these reasons is why she embarked on this career. So feel free, everybody, just chime in. What do you want to say? How do you feel about this? Why are you so passionate about working in this field? So take it away. Anybody? Should I just call on you? Well, let's start with Patricia. You've worked in the medical field for quite a while, right?
Yeah, about 25 years.
25 years. And you want to share a little bit about that? I mean, how it relates to the topic?
Sure. My background is hospice. And what I've really noticed since COVID is the families are grieving. They're so full of guilt because if their loved ones are in nursing homes, they weren't able to see them. My own mother died at the very beginning of COVID
Oh, so
in
sorry.
March 29th. So it's going on 2 years. But she didn't have COVID. And so I have a lot of peace because she was at home. But a lot of the patients that I served um, were just grief stricken because they were dropping their loved ones off in the emergency room, and many of them never saw them again. I can't
Mm,
I can't imagine. And the fact that they had strangers in the nursing homes and hospitals caring for their loved ones. I think the guilt hasn't even come out that people are dealing with, and I think that we're all going to have a lot to deal with as healthcare professionals.
yeah, yeah. Anybody want to add? So, Eric, why did you pursue this career?
That's a good question. Um, I'll go with a really honest answer. You know that a lot of people these days are big into like true crime, that kind of thing. And I don't know, I've always been, it's not like I love horror movies or that kind of thing, but like I've had an interest in people, but an interest in stuff that's a little strange, like, you know, working at a bar or that kind of thing, the nightlife, how that intersects with health. Yeah, I worked with, how long? I worked in bars and kitchens for 5 or 10 years, a while. And I found that I kept getting in trouble for talking to people too long. I wanted to know about everybody's life. And, you know, I mean, everybody who gets into mental health and medicine has a history of their own. For some reason, I think that's the most common thing in the world, that people say, oh, I think I'm too messed up to be a therapist.
Mm,
Oh, you know, I think I'm too messed up to be a doctor or whatever. And, you know, it's people get into the field for a reason.
right, right. Thank you. Kate? You need to unmute.
Unmute.
Okay.
About mental health, or
What's the driving force behind you entering? If you want to talk about it, you don't have to. But
I mean, obviously I have issues with my own growth upbringing, right?
okay.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm self-aware enough to say that. Yeah, therapists go into it to heal, I believe, our own wounds, right? And hopefully to do something, at least for me, to like help other people to put language and be able to communicate their feelings, because that was something I absolutely had no idea how to do. And it makes such a difference, you know? I mean, it makes me wonder, with the clip you showed with Miss USA, you know, what language or what was she not sharing? What kind of shame or burden was she carrying that she was alone with? And I think for me, having that experience of someone being able to hold space and like just get all the stuff out and like be understood is just so life-giving.
Yeah.
Which like, it makes me wonder a little bit too, Patricia, you know, watching people die, you know, how that must impact how you live, you know, the two go hand in hand. So, I mean, I would say that's the big part of it. Yeah, and it's fascinating because as a therapist, it's not like you don't know what journey you're about to go on with the patient.
Right.
And I think sometimes when you're patient facing, you think like, oh, this person is going to tell me what to do, or they know everything. And it's like, no, at Eric's point, we go in it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really that connection and that shared communication that at least has driven me to go into the field and to try and do something with the pain instead of just let it, you know, like I think pain should have a purpose.
Pain with a purpose. That's pretty deep. So as you're healing, you're helping others find their way to healing.
Oh yeah. I was less aware of it when I first started in the field because I was 21, but now I look back and I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I think it was largely unconscious. So
Wow, that's
Okay. Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Awesome.
So
Um,
unburdening is a key part of the healing process, I would think then, right?
Oh,
Question is out to these specialists here.
for sure. Yeah.
Burden themselves is it's a part of that healing process, right?
Mhm.
right, which is unburdening. Unburdening is such a hard thing to do because like we want to hide, you know, and that's why I call it the silent killer, because you can walk out with that smile and nobody knows what you're going through. And finding that safe space to unburden yourself is important. That's why I value what you all do for people like me, you know. Amber, would you like to add anything to this? I know you've been more studying from experience. We've shared really deep, in-depth conversations, and you should actually have a license. I tell you this all the time because she studies and studies and she reads so much. What would you like to say?
Well, I got into it. I am interested in mental health and emotional health because of. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I take an interest in mental and emotional health because of my very dysfunctional upbringing. But the Miss USA, what was her name?
Chesley. Am I saying it right? Chesley.
Chesley. I think there's I want to say that what was probably missing was a lack of genuine connection. And I think, I don't want to assume her life story because I didn't look into it that deeply. But it seems to me that going after a title like that, or, you know, I'm making a lot of assumptions here, excuse me, but it's ironic to me that people do things to be seen. And I think that's because they really are trying to make genuine connections. And when that's lacking in their life, it really doesn't matter your status, your title, your money. Like that doesn't matter when you don't have the connection that you're looking for. So I think there's a good chance that that might have been what was missing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Megan?
Well, I'm more, I don't have like a doctorate or anything. It's more self-experience for me. I'm gonna start off with a bang here. When I was 14, I was diagnosed with bipolar 2, and I was so ashamed. I was so alone. My high school friends mental illness was not a thing in 2007 in my high school. And so when I told a couple of friends, they dropped me. No longer friends with those friends. We're Facebook friends, if you know what I mean.
Delete.
Yeah, exactly. Delete that. Come on now.
Yeah. Okay, I might do one girl. Okay, she probably not. But no, it was an experience for me. And as I grew up into a young adult, my darkest times were when I was 21 through 23. I had some surgery where it was, a long story short, it changed my life and mentally. And I think, how do I get this? I think as I grew up, I matured more, but I did not lose my mental illness. Someone recently told me, they said, "Are you still bipolar?"
Wow.
I cannot be undiagnosed, but I have my really good days. And my mom always said it's minute by minute when you're in that low point of your life. Right now, I'm doing extremely well. I am a huge advocate. Everyone, each their own. I get it. I'm a huge advocate for medication. My medication is great right now. But you don't, it's everyone else's kind of thing. But yeah, it took me a heck of a journey. So I wrote some books about it. I wrote one book about my life story and my surgeries and what I remember and that kind of thing. It's called The One Who Stayed. I'm not promoting, but
no, promote. It's a good thing. Yes.
On Amazon. But yeah, it's I always say things are journeys or adventures, and the journeys are my hard parts, the adventures are my good parts. So that's me.
Nice. That's awesome. I remember from ECC, we had conversations. That was what, over 10 years ago, when we were in the same algebra class at Elgin Community College, and we were all struggling in algebra, all those study sessions.
Oh my gosh, I remember those. Now you say that. Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't know if it worked. It took me 10 years to get that math class out of my system, but
you did it, baby. You did it. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. And I mean, because I remember so many of our conversations where you felt like just giving up and throwing in the towel altogether. And
Yeah,
to hear you say this, huh?
It was hard, yeah.
But you persevered. I'm so proud of you. So proud. Veronica, what would you like to add to this?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge what everyone shared. I mean, the personal stories, all the insight. And Patricia, I wanted to acknowledge and say sorry for your loss.
Yes.
I really do. I think COVID brought on a whole new perspective of mental health concerns. But yeah, again, personal connection to mental health, just like everyone else, things in my upbringing that sparked my curiosity and wanting to help people to better understand themselves. So my perspective was more from knowing that self-understanding helped me to maintain my mental health, and wanting to help people do the same to not only improve their relationship with themselves, but with other people. Because I think when we can't see ourselves, how can we really see other people? So that's been my main focus. And going into this field is like problem solving in a different way. I wanted to go into business consulting, but I'm like, what am I going to get out of this? If I'd rather go into, something that's going to give lifelong change to an individual, and that person can do something with that change in their life. And then I think the other side of it is we put a lot of emphasis on like physical illnesses. And, like if we have a wound, we're not going to let it fester. And I think the attention that's being put on mental health, because it's an unseen illness, like you talked about in the video, I think it's just, any of us in this field or who are advocates of this field, giving attention to that unseen illness is just really important. I could go on forever about all of it, but that's what I'll bring in.
Good stuff. And I have to say, like I told you all, this is my daughter, my oldest daughter. So very proud of her. And, it's kind of like one of those things, she was kind of born to do what she's doing right now, because she has given voice even to her father, her mother, and the rest of the family. And, back in the day, for those who are more mature, we didn't talk about these things. We didn't talk about depression. We didn't talk about abuse. We didn't talk about traumas. And she has made me accountable. I'll speak for myself on so many levels. I've had to have those tough discussions and having to apologize for things that I did, having to acknowledge areas that I need to grow in. So this has been a beautiful journey, and I'm looking forward to even, hearing more and as she shares her insights. And that's healing. That's healing for me as well. Neil, do you want to say anything?
Oh, just that my perspective on it is from the perspective of somebody from getting in a place of lack and trying to become the best version of themselves. And mental health is part of that process. And it has a lot to do with the mind. And that's where I think I impact people, especially people at my church or in the community, to kind of a different mindset, to have a healthier approach to living. So that's my angle.
Awesome. So as we navigate through life, because we know that we're not living on the planet alone, and how like if you see the signs, like this young lady, I mean, she was on television all the time. And it's like, how do you miss these signs? I mean, she did a really good job camouflaging that. Because I don't know if how many of you know about the story, but she jumped from the 70 something floor of her condo. Yeah. So it's like, what kind of recommendations would you give to the rest of us in helping people that we know who are in this state? Because I could talk about me. My daughter saw me many years before I understood, what was really going on in my own life. Many years I was in bed under my covers, balled up, could not move, crippled by depression. But I grew up in a religious background where they they got so spiritual, they made it it was like I was demon possessed, just all these horrible things, but nobody got to the core of trying to figure out like what is wrong, So I lived with that, trying to sort through that. And it was miraculous. I cannot deny the existence of a divine presence, because that's the only way and the only reason that I'm on the other side. Because I pleaded with God many times just to end it, just to end my life, because the emotional pain was so much. And it was just like, I want to be done. And I remember one experience when I sent a message out via email to some of my closest, so some people were closer to me. And I planned my funeral. I told them, I said, I don't think when I close my eyes tonight, I don't think I'm gonna wake up, and somebody came over and checked on me, but it was only God. I can only give God credit for bringing me out of that. So if I had people in my life who were sensitive to these things, I could have gotten through it, I think, a lot faster. So what would you all say about that? How can we help others who are struggling? Take your time to answer. Take your time to answer.
Yeah, I think the starting place is that there's a lot of reasons, for the feelings people have, especially the feelings that feel uncontrollable, or the ones that, you feel like you can't change. So I think the first side of it, which, is the easiest side, is the chemical side, which is, I think Megan was talking about this. And, this is where medication and those things help to regulate.
Yeah.
The other side of it is really just that self-understanding and understanding traumas, understanding how your body and mind have been affected, and really connecting those two pieces. Because I think sometimes when you're in that place of being disconnected, again, you're lost. You don't know where to start. Everything feels unbearable. Everything feels unmanageable, especially when you feel like you can't open up and talk about it. So I think, for somebody who doesn't know they can go to counseling or doesn't know where to start, I do think that's where that hopelessness comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That was good. Eric, you had something to say?
Dare I take an opposing stance?
Dare to.
I'm definitely not anti-medication, but when it comes to mental health, I can't help but see a lot of limitations. I've studied with psychiatrists. I've looked at a lot of data. Neil used the word specialist. I'm no specialist. There's a lot I don't know. And I don't know if I learn more things or just find more things that I don't know about. But I want to address the video CHAR put down in the beginning about suicide, and that is suicidology, the study of suicide, right? They talk about risk factors and protective factors. And this is a lot of, okay, so if people feel that they're a burden, if people feel that they have thwarted belongingness, that, everywhere they go, if they go to a baseball game, they feel alone. When people cheer and get happy, they feel even more alone. If they have a past suicide attempt, there's all these risk factors. And then protective factors are like going to church, having a dog, having hobbies, that kind of thing. But with all of the studies they've done, they're still not good at predicting what makes someone want to kill themselves. And a lot of I think mental health literature focuses on what's wrong. You know, why is someone's brain messed up when they have schizophrenia or blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't address what you were talking about, CHAR, with, well, what do you do? How do we help people?
Right.
And I really believe, I'm not anti-medication. It can help people, but it's no cure. You really need something else. And I think that something else is what Amber was talking about, which is social support. When people show up, you know, there's this model group in Italy that they work with people who have sort of lifelong, very serious mental illness, and their focus is on having them do meaningful volunteer work or paid work and to socialize with each other. You know, when people don't get along, they have enough resources that they can move them to a place where they get along with people.
Beautiful.
And they have some of the best recorded outcomes of any mental health, blah, 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 to combat that loneliness. And I even think about in my own life that at the worst point in my life, my friend at the time, he was on tour. He was having a horrible tour. He was going broke and he called me every morning for a week, even when he was having a bad time, to just check up on me. And that meant the world, right? Where he didn't magically solve all of my problems, but just that he cared enough to take that much time out of his day to give me that social support. Really helped me through that experience.
That's powerful. That is powerful. And I so agree with that. I have to share a story really quick because I remember one of my worst bouts with depression came after I graduated actually from ECC with my associate degree. And I was like, what am I going to do now? You know, and I was too nervous to move when I didn't think I was capable of advancing to a university. So it was like, oh my God, here I am, I'm stuck again. But I started spiraling and I started going to counseling. And they had me, I was pretty bad. And they had me go see which one's the one that prescribes the medication?
Psychiatrist or nurse practitioner?
Psychiatrist. And she was about to write a prescription for me. And I was about to really get into it. And my daughter, I shared it with her. She was like, Mom, like she wasn't knocking it, but she's just like, Mom, I think you should really just try to find a way to get through this. Because at the time I was like living out in the suburbs and I was far away from them. So I didn't really have friends per se. And so what I decided to do was I got the prescription, but I didn't get it filled. And I went to because music is my lifeline. And I went to a concert that same night. And I felt like 100 times better. It was amazing. I mean, not only am I a singer, like I know what that does for me and for the audience, but to sit in the audience and actually have music being played over me when I'm going through a difficult time. Oh my God, that fed me. And so I started doing that like every week. Every week I would find a concert to go to, or go to an art class because I'm an artist in that way as well. Yeah. So Eric, that was awesome. That's awesome. All right. Anybody else want to share?
I do. I want to feed off what Eric said about the education, which is 100%. My mother, not to call her out, I love her. She's great. She focused on the whys for a long, long time. Why would God give you this? Why would, and so finally, when I got older, I told her, Mom, I'm in pain and I need a support system. And so it took me a little bit. Obviously, I was, high school age when everything happened, but it took me a little bit to tell her because I thought that something was wrong with me too, because as I got older, it's a chemical thing. It's the thing. I finally learned about myself, the social aspect, huge for me. I'm an extrovert, and if I'm having a couple bad days or whatever, I go to Starbucks and I read a book. I get out there.
Yeah.
But I've learned about myself through these experiences, and I think that the whole why kind of thing, it hurts people sometimes, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. So
You
the
said
whys I'm
why?
over with. Why? Yeah. And everyone has different, obviously different experiences, but mine was, I believed I was given something that shouldn't be for me. Mental health was a burden, which now I learned to live with it and that kind of thing. But it was hard with the whys always in my ear. So
Yeah. Cause like, so I don't know if this is too much. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but did yours, was it just a chemical imbalance on your part, or were there traumas, like childhood traumas that?
yeah. So I was 5 years old when I told my mom I wanted to die. And she was like, was it the move? We moved houses, and then that was a why.
Mhm.
And so we didn't know. I think it's more of a chemical imbalance. I had more trauma. Like I said, I'm going strong here because I'm not ashamed anymore.
Go
But
for it. I
I
love it.
had,
That's why you're here. Yeah.
I had electroconvulsive treatments, which is very what's the word? Very controversial. Long story short, they shock your brain into, like, literally shock your brain into having seizures to make your brain chemicals go around and make you happier.
Sounds big.
I won't get into the whole thing there. It's in my book and everything, but it semi worked, semi didn't. It's just, we think it's the brain chemicals. There was no trauma until that surgery. So there's no test saying, yeah, you got it because of this. You know what I mean? Like I said, I accept it now. So it's not, I always say when I go into hospitals or whatever, I just say, hi, I'm Megan. I am not bipolar. I have bipolar.
All right.
That was always my introduction. It's not who I am.
Yes.
It's just sometimes what I have.
Yes, exactly. No different from having cancer or, any other illness. Yes. Someone just made a statement, Sandy. She says, you can't help someone unless they want help. And I was going to actually ask that question as far as intervention, but I don't know. I don't know if I totally agree with that. You can't help someone if they don't want your help, because sometimes they don't even know they need help. So it's like finding a way to help them. What do you all think about that? Because it's an illness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's important to not over-identify it with illness, right? Like when I hear what we're all talking about, I don't know, the example that's coming to mind is like, why is pain this thing we need to quiet, right? Like why do you need to throw? It's like, this is my own personal pet peeve. It's like when I see little babies, right? And like, there's a pacifier, right? Why do we do that? Like, let the baby cry. You know what I mean? Why? Because we don't want to hear it, right? We basically are telling this tiny baby to STFU because we're overwhelmed, we're overstimulated, right? And like, everyone's like, oh, they need to learn to self-soothe. Like, you're designed to do what you're going to do, right? It's just, we want to conform or like quiet, or because we're tired, because we didn't sleep, because raising a child is hard. Like I get it, but like, you have a thumb, you know what I mean? Like the baby will find it when it's ready to find it. I think we're just not as patient with how painful it is to be a person or become a person, right? And so then you add that onto like, intergenerational trauma, right? It gets passed down. Like, right, a lot of times people don't even know what they're going through is abusive, or it's not okay because it's so normalized. So it's also like, then how do we respond to our own pain? You know what I mean? So like if you're struggling with depression, or if like the word like bipolar, like I don't know how helpful that is, right? Like diagnosis is like pretty damaging for the most part, because you're just a person who is having a human experience. And I don't know any person who has felt better because they were given a diagnosis, right? Like to Megan's point about like the whys, like that'll drive somebody crazy, So I don't know. I wonder if like it's more of like a not wanting to sit in the discomfort or like see what comes. You know what I mean? Like And yeah, of course it's going to be painful, but why is that a bad thing? You know what I mean? Or why do we feel shame about that? I don't know. Obviously, like people shouldn't suffer, but you know, there's just this whole, I don't know, I think there's a societal level of like, everything should be okay and no one should have pain and we should just get on and move on with everything instead of just being.
Yeah, I was gonna chime in because I'm struggling to remember what I said in the beginning. I think it was a general statement about mental health overall, but it seems like everyone's kind of talking about maybe more the suicide part of it, or I'm not sure, because I'm a huge proponent of social support. You know, Eric, I want to agree with you there. I think I was just speaking from every perspective. And I'm assuming I must have said something about the why. So I guess you know, there's, when it comes to suicide, there was and research says a lot of times people will make the attempt from the first thought within like 30 minutes to an hour, like within that same moment. So again, it's something that's very difficult to predict. And I can totally hear how everyone's, you know, talking about, you know, that loneliness could be a big part of it. Just not having support, feeling like a burden, feeling like you're alone, feeling like you don't have options. But yeah, I totally agree with everyone there. But maybe someone can remind me of what exactly I said about the why, because I can't remember.
I don't know if were you all commenting on what she said? I don't think it was you, Veronica.
No.
It might have been something I said. But so I'm struggling with this, right? Because the why. When I got an understanding of what was happening to me, I had to visit why. And then I got answers because my family dynamics was pretty messed up. You know, I didn't know who my biological father was, and I didn't know the trauma he caused my mom. And then I didn't know how traumatic the pregnancy was for her to carry this unwanted baby. And then this baby is soaking up all of this trauma. My mom could not love me and receive me as her child because of that. So I lived feeling not connected to anybody. And I grew up not feeling connected to anybody. And it wasn't until, honestly, 2019, my daughter bought me a 23andMe DNA kit as a Christmas gift. I was like, that's one of the best gifts I ever got, because it opened up so much. And it was just like, oh, the dark clouds just parted and I could see the light, because my cousin found me, my biological father's niece found me and reached out, sent an email and started telling me, like, your father is my uncle. And I was like, what? You know, and it just, the light bulb came on. And then I started asking questions. And I started getting answers to my whys, you know, and that actually started the healing. So I think it varies from person to person, you know, but my thing is the intervention part of it. Yeah, we can't save people who I don't even know if I can say that. It's just like, how do we help a person not to end their life unnecessarily? I think that's my thing, the end result. You know, it's like, how do we give them hope? Minister Neil, I don't know if you want to say anything on this.
Well, I'm thinking, a thought came to me when you guys were talking, and I'm like, suicide is like the ending of internal or external suffering. And most likely it's internal suffering, mentally, just suffering with this pain. And so I love the fact that someone mentioned social support, because that's where the church is normally powerful from, ever since it's a community. And so people tend to, for me, I'm no professional, but you flourish a little bit more when you're in a community where people care about you. And from the spiritual perspective, you get a chance to unburden yourself on a Sunday. And I think that has a big deal. And who knows, it may have prevented thousands of suicides. People just unburdening themselves. And so from a ministerial point of view, for my, well, where I'm concerned, I am really concerned about the mindset, the changing of the mind, transforming your mind so that you can become, like I said before, everything you think you should be. But for those who are in pain and trying to end that pain, I do understand that social support, along with, maybe medication or whatever would definitely help. But most importantly, I think unburdening and that social support is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. We have about 10 minutes. Anybody want to bring anything else to the table that you think, would be beneficial to, because I'm hoping that somebody who's struggling behind the scenes can listen to this and find the hope that they need. That's my desire.
I'll try. I don't know how to really articulate this yet. That's why I didn't want to say anything. I look at things from a spiritual perspective. I look at everything from a spiritual perspective because we're spirits first. And I know from hearing other people's stories and from having my own experiences that it's not uncommon for people to regret their decision to commit suicide, like, halfway through it. And I think about that sometimes. I think about how many people who were successful in committing suicide might have, wished that they didn't do it. And I think it's hard to pinpoint the why, because you're looking at studies done on a small group of people, and everybody has different experiences and memories that make them who they are, and every soul is different. So it's going to be very, very hard to pinpoint, this collective why that applies to everybody. You won't find it. But in terms of stopping people, I don't honestly believe there's anything we can do to stop people, but we can reduce it, and it takes a village type mentality. It's a collective effort, and that goes back to what Veronica was saying about knowing yourself. You need to be able to know yourself you need to be able to see yourself in order to see others and help other people. And it's when you're looking for that community, when you're searching for those genuine connections, it can be difficult to find when you don't know you and the people around you don't know themselves. You can't make that connection. So it's very important for everybody to do that work within themselves, so that we can be in a place where we can show up for other people. We can show up for ourselves first and show up for other people.
Right.
So that building community is actually effective in that way.
Exactly. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I think that all of you, Eric and Kate, Veronica, are, I don't know how you all promote yourselves, or do they find you through a service? How does that work? Because therapists are available to help you. Whoever is listening or watching this, they're available to help you to process the difficult things in life. So how do they go about finding? Go ahead.
Psychology Today, for sure. Also, when you're when you want to die, right? Like if you're like, this is it, like, whatever, I don't want to be here anymore. and then you're trying to find a therapist. If that connection, or if they don't call you back, don't give up, right? There's so many therapists. If you don't like somebody, or if like that experience, I think that's probably one of the things I'm most passionate about, is usually if a first time therapeutic encounter doesn't go great, people tend to give up. It's like dating. It's not ideal.
Oh boy.
Nobody wants to do it, but there is somebody out there who will hold space for you and that you can connect with. There is always somebody. And if that person, it doesn't vibe, it doesn't matter that they have a degree or whatever. Like, you know yourself well enough to know like what kind of person you need. And I would just say, trust that. And you might as well give it a go. Like, I would say, if you're going to die, let's go to the dark place for a minute. Give yourself like 30 days, right? Call a bunch of people, and like, maybe, right, that connection, something happens and it shifts. It's really just sometimes one change can shift our whole course of our life. It could be one phone call. But if it doesn't go great, that's not evidence to be like, okay, I should die. Like, I don't want to be here anymore, right? But to try not to give up.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people, therapists, or if you're like worried about finances, like, most therapists probably can do sliding scale, or they will find someone, like, they will help you. Even if I'm booked or if I don't have space, I'll usually be like, here are a bunch of names, right? Because I know how hard it is to like pick up the phone and be like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know why I'm here, or I don't know, like, all of that is normal. So I just want to normalize, like, you don't have to have like a perfectly scripted, you're meeting somebody and you're trying to see if the two of you can connect. So
beautiful. Well said. Thank you. Eric, where can we find you?
So my caseload is full. I can't take anybody. I do sign people up at Turning Point. I would like to plug the living room service at Turning Point, as well as the living room service at Jocelyn Center. We take Medicaid, all types of Medicaid, and these living room services are places you can call 24/7 and someone will answer. And you can also go in person, no appointment required, like 10 to 6. I can't remember the hours.
Okay.
But yeah, that's something where if suicidal thoughts, if you have plans, intent, you can go, someone will be there. If you have a friend that you feel is struggling with suicide, I think it's very important to not try to talk them out of it and just be like, no, don't do it. There's so much to live for, that because they don't feel heard, right? They want someone else to hear how much they're hurting, because people don't want to talk about suicidal thoughts. Almost all of my patients, they're like, no one wants to talk to me about this. So when, even as a friend, you can listen to them talk about awful, awful things and sit there and say, I still want to be your friend. That's a really powerful thing. So
that's powerful. That's powerful. Wonderful. Thank you. Veronica, where can we find you?
So I'm not starting at a practice yet. So, but I did want to add to what Amber and Kate, and then you, Mom, just a quick thought. What you said was, again, like you said, whether it's the why or not, like, the funny thing is I had a lot of social support, but a lot of my mental health struggles came from not having answers. So it was frustrating. It was like psychological torture not having whys, because no one was saying why. So I just want to say, like, to answer your question, Mom, about interventions, I think like the most important intervention is to approach that journey, whether it's going to a therapist or whatever, in the most authentic way possible. And, this is, again, saying to people now, because obviously people go into these situations not knowing what to do. So this is just my feedback. Go in asking for what you need. Go in, not like Kate was saying, having this magic answer, and just really letting it be messy, letting it be like, maybe you don't know, maybe you do know, but ultimately not trying to come up with this perfect solution for yourself, and just really being authentic to what you think your healing process should look like. I just wanted to throw that out there, because clearly we all respond to things differently.
Right. Good stuff. So before we go, thank you all so much. This was very, very, very good. And I hope maybe some of you, if you're available, we can continue this conversation some more, because this is going to be an ongoing thing, Patricia wrote a beautiful song, and we want to just play a little bit of it before we go.
273-8255.
So you're feeling disconnected, sometimes high and sometimes low. Maybe reality seems just like a video. So you go for help, you're seeking counseling or therapy, and then they give you medication and say no cure for this disease. You take a pill for this and that, and you don't know how it came to be. You feel that no one understands, and all you can say is woe is me. You go through life just like a zombie, feeling like the dead alive. But I know of a great physician, and he can hear your faintest cry. To depression he says, come out, come out. To OCD, come out, come out. Bipolarity, come out, come out. Be healed of your disease. To the hoarder he says, come out, come out. To ATD, come out, come out. All anxiety, come out, come out. Now declare you free.
If you are struggling and you need help, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255.
Wonderful. Don't go anywhere, you guys. I'm going to end the live, okay? Thank you all for whoever was watching. Thank you for joining us, and I hope it was beneficial for you. I hope you got something out of it. Life is beautiful. Let's make it the best that we can in spite of our circumstances. We all have a journey. We all have a story. You matter. You are loved. You are not alone.